Knicks Daily Edition, baby. Today I want to talk about my guy, Amare Stoudemire. Before Amare Stoudemire ever stepped onto the hardwood at Madison Square Garden as a Knick, he was already a household name in the NBA. We see him on the sidelines now, but people forget he was a force of nature from the moment he entered the league straight out of high school in 2002. The man was taken with the 9th overall by the Phoenix Suns, and many expected him to be just a raw, athletic project with untapped potential. But what followed was a meteoric rise. Amare won the NBA Rookie of the Year award in 2003. That year he was featured in a class with Yao Ming and Caron Butler. But he wasn't just good, he was electrifying. The man was explosive, he was ferocious. He had a rare blend of speed, power, and charisma. He didn't just dunk on people, he detonated them. And in doing so, he ended up turning Steve Nash from a very good point guard into a back-to-back MVP winner. The pick and roll between Nash and Stoudemire became gospel in Phoenix. And the Phoenix Suns of the seconds or less era weren't just successful, they were revolutionaries. And at the heart of it all was STAT, which stands for standing tall and talented. The man had battles with the league's elite big men at the time: Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Dirk Nowitzki. They were all gladiators. And you could hear the impact. You could hear the echo of his impact on the game in the awe of fans and the respect of his opponents. Amare wasn't just a dunker or a finisher. He had a solid mid-range game. He had underrated footwork. And he was the kind of competitor that had that fire that elevated him from star to superstar. But even the sun sets, and it did so for him in Phoenix, which led to him coming to New York, which was a city that was wounded. New York was aching at the time. The Knicks had become synonymous with dysfunction in the 2000s. From the ugly end of Patrick Ewing being traded to Larry Brown's chaotic tenure, to Isaiah Thomas's soap opera-like reign, the Knicks were no longer the proud franchise of Clyde, Willis, or even the 90s grit and grind of Ewing, Oakley, and Starks. As fans, we were emotionally depleted. And then came the summer of 2010, the most hyped free agency period in NBA history. LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Joe Johnson, Carlos Boozer, and Stoudemire all were free agents. And Knicks fans believed perhaps that we could get LeBron to come here. We cleared off the cap space. Donnie Walsh had worked the phones. The city had waited like a lover that was staring outside of a rainy window. And then the infamous decision happened. Your boy LeBron spurned New York for Miami in one of the most dramatic and gut-wrenching, disrespectful rejections in sports history. He used us. He used the Knicks. He let us dangle. He gave the city just enough hope. And then the wound was open. And into that void walked Amare Stoudemire, head high, chest out, proclaiming something we all Knicks fans wanted to hear. We haven't heard it in a decade. The Knicks are back. Stoudemire was a warrior, man. And on July 5th, 2010, the Knicks signed Amare to a 5-year, $99 million contract. It was bold, but it was risky. His knees were a concern for us. He didn't have an insurable contract. But to us fans, it didn't matter. Amare wanted New York. He didn't flirt. He didn't tease. He didn't make a show. He chose New York. And he made us feel chosen. In the wake of betrayal, here was a warrior who had came to fight. He brought swagger. He brought fire. He brought that confidence that someone who knew he was a franchise player and demanded that the world know it too. And you know we love that in New York. But the best part of it was he backed it up. From November 2010 to February 2011, Amare Stoudemire set Madison Square Garden ablaze. Not figuratively, literally. The man was unstoppable. Let's talk numbers. 26 points, 8 rebounds, 3 blocks a game, 50% shooting through that stretch. But it wasn't the stats that made it electric. It was his dominance. He broke a Knicks franchise record by scoring 30 plus points in 9 straight games, something not even Patrick Ewing had done. And these weren't empty numbers, they were wins. At one point, the Knicks were 16-9, and the city was alive again. There were the Garden crowds that weren't just cheering, they were roaring. We had celebrities packed courtside, kids wore orange and blue again. Mike Breen's bang echoed with purpose at that time. And Stoudemire was on MVP ballots. He was out playing LeBron. That's not hyperbole, he was. He gave Knicks fans something deeper than points or wins. He gave us belief. Amare didn't just carry the team, he carried the spirit of the franchise. In the December game against the Celtics, I hope y'all remember this, he hit a game-tying 3-point shot with 0.1 seconds left. That was waved off, yes, but the roar of the crowd still resonates. That was a playoff atmosphere in December, and Amare Stoudemire was the center of our Knicks universe. And then came the Melo shift. I know, y'all know where I stand with it. Carmelo arrived in February 2011, and a blockbuster move that cost us depth, but gave us star power. The idea was to pair Amare and Melo into a super duo. And for a brief moment, it worked. The energy was off the charts. 2 stars, 1 city, infinite possibilities. Stoudemire's knees issues began to flare up though. And the chemistry between them, him and Melo, both being used as primary options, never quite clicked. Amare's game is based on space and timing, something that's not with Melo's. Melo's is post heavy. If you add in coaching changes and a lack of a true point guard, then the once red hot stat began to cool off. But still, there were moments. Like the 2012 playoffs, where Amare punched the fire extinguisher case in frustration after a Game 2 loss to the Heat, literally bleeding for the cause. Or in 2013, where even in a reduced role, he contributed to a Knicks 54-win season and second-round appearance, the franchise's best run since the late 90s, prior to our most recent run. He was never the same physically, but his warrior spirit never left. By 2014, Amare was dealing with diminishing returns. It was clear Phoenix was on to something. His body simply couldn't do what his heart wanted it to do. And in 2015, the Knicks bought out the final year of his contract. He ended up signing with Dallas, then later Miami, but his soul remained in New York. And when Amare officially retired in 2016, he did it as a Knick. He signed a 1-day contract and he declared it with pride. Although my career took me to other places around the country, my heart has always remained in the Big Apple. And I think that says everything. It does me pride when I see him on Legends Row, but I know young people don't know about Amare. Once a Knick, always a Knick. New York loves a certain kind of player. Not just the best, but the bold, the brave, the ones who walk into chaos and claim it. Starks, Oakley, Mason, Sprewell, Houston, Brunson, Stoudemire's of that lineage. He didn't bring a championship, but he brought hope. He didn't win MVPs in New York, but he gave MVP performances. He didn't save the franchise, but he stopped the bleeding. And it was his commitment, his ferocity, his hunger. Those things matter. They echo. He walked into a burning building and said, "Let's go to work." And in the city still wounded from LeBron's spurning, Amare became a balm for that wound, a fighter, a symbol. And now, you still hear his name at the Garden with reverence. Not like a ghost, but like a giant. We Knicks fans, for all our passion, We're definitely discerning. You don't get love just because you tried hard. You get love because you meant something. And Amare to New York meant something. Now, a lot of us, years later, we talk about what could have been, though. Yeah, we wonder what could have been a lot. What if his knees would have held up? What if LeBron or Wade had joined him? What if the Melo trade was delayed, allowing for better chemistry and flexibility? But those are hypotheticals. The truth is that Amare Stoudemire gave us something real. He gave us something powerful. He gave us the spark that led to the return to relevance. He helped attract Carmelo. He helped energize the Garden. He set the tone. And even years later, his love for New York persists. Whether he's courtside, coaching, or offering commentary, there's a sincerity to his connection with this city. Since retiring, you can find Stoudemire on the baseline. You can see he's transformed. The man has leaned into his faith, his family, and his education. He's even embraced his Jewish roots and become a mentor to younger players. Since his stint as a player development coach with the Brooklyn Nets, it was there that he showcased his commitment to giving back to the game as well. But his most passionate public expressions often revolve around his time in New York. When he speaks about the Knicks, there's emotion, there's pride, there's unfinished business maybe, but also deep affection. He is and always will be a Knickerbocker. And this is why we rock with him so much. In the end, Amare Stoudemire didn't come to New York to ride coattails or to play it safe. He knew what he was getting into. So he came as a warrior. He came when others didn't. He came when the city needed a hero. And for one blazing stretch from November 2010 through early 2011, he was that hero. He gave the Knicks back our heartbeat. He gave the fans a reason to believe again. And for that, he's not just a former player, he's family. He's forever orange and blue. What say you? Keep this in mind. Same thing applies to life that applies to our team. If there's no struggle, there's no progress. But always remember this. Whether it's out there in the real world or here in these YouTube streets, here in Knicks Deli, everybody eats. I'm your boy Shia, and I'm out. Peace.